I read 27 minutes, so you don't have to.
Pictures and patterns put into words that stream across the page, capturing life as soft spoken.
Hey everybody, Jane here, and I read 27 minutes as part of my mystery march. This was for the prompt multiple points of view. And this book was an interesting one. I'd heard people talk about it and I was curious, but I'll admit that the book ended up being a little bit of a letdown for me. I don't have my notes in front of me, but I think I ended up giving it 3 stars. I was pretty disappointed by the time everything was said and done. So, what this book is about is there is a car accident 10 years ago, and it was following a party, and there was a teenager named Phoebe who died in the accident. Her brother was the driver, and there was a girl named Becca who was their friend who was in the car with them. And it took 27 minutes from the time of the accident to when the ambulance was called. And so there's always been a question in the sheriff's mind of why was there a 27-minute delay in calling for help. And the brother, Grant, and the girl in the car, Becca, were never charged, but there's always been a question of, like, was there something else going on that night that was the reason for this accident? So this book is a lot, it's a lot of character stuff. We have multiple point of views, along with Becca and Grant. We also have June and Wyatt. So June has recently lost her mother, and as her mother, after her mother passed, her brother, who has been missing for 10 years and also went missing the night of the accident, returns to her, and she wants to tell the whole world because she is ready for him to help her. The house that she's living in is kind of dilapidated. She's been lonely. She's been missing her brother, but her brother does not want her to tell anybody that he is back because he knows what happened that night. And they're about to do a big memorial service for Phoebe because she never got mourned properly. And the brother wants to use this occasion to tell the truth about what happened. There's also in the background like a secondary story of this question of whether they should tear down this bridge where the accident that Phoebe was in happened. There has since been another death on that same bridge, and people are starting to feel like maybe that bridge is just not safe and shouldn't be up and is a hazard. Now, surprisingly, a lot of the characters in this book, particularly Grant and Becca, do not want this bridge tore down. And that seems sus to some people. All right, so I thought some of the book was kind of interesting, but it did get kind of boring after a while where it was like we're seeing Becca and Grant and their interactions, and Becca's like in love with him and he keeps like rebuffing her, but not fully. He's kind of like, yes, yes, I love you, but I'm going to ignore you and treat you terribly, but I still love you because we got to keep our secret. We're a team, all this stuff. And so you have that, and you also have flashbacks to the night things happened. One of my early complaints in the book is that Becca, who was the friend who was there that night, is just freaking insufferable. She is the most miserable, selfish character I have ever read, and I hated her. And I think as we get to the end of the book, we understand why she is that way. But man, I did not enjoy reading from her point of view at all. Grant was pretty bad. Like, he was playing with her feelings. He was being a complete jerk. And I didn't like him either. This is, and I have this problem sometimes with like thrillers and mysteries is There's just nobody who's worth rooting for. And I very much felt that in this book. There just wasn't really anybody worth rooting for, except for maybe poor June, who is, trying to grow a backbone for the first time in her entire life and is having some issues because her brother won't tell her what's going on or why he's back now. Also, her brother is having all of these strange medical stuff happening. He'll have nosebleeds or he'll cough up blood, and, he's got some teeth that are falling out. And she's like, hey, you should probably see a doctor. Wonder what's happening with you. So all of this different stuff is going on, and we're getting these like little glimpses into the different characters as they're kind of preparing for this anniversary of the accident. So I'm going to tell you the reveal, and then we're going to have a little discussion about my issue with books like this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And in this case, I was mad about it. I was just mad about it. So, the night of the accident, Grant and Wyatt had an argument issue. So Wyatt was a drug dealer who Grant was getting, I want to say it was steroids from. It was some kind of drugs, but I think it was steroids from. And because Grant was a sports player, and anyway, he owed Wyatt a lot of money. He had given Wyatt his father's watch to sell, and Wyatt had told him, this isn't the value that is going to make up for what you still owe me. And Grant is like, well, I don't have any more. I'm sorry. Also, Grant was having a relationship thing with one of Phoebe's friends, but it wasn't Becca. So the accident happened, and Grant was more than a little drunk from the sounds of it. He had Becca and Phoebe in the car with him, and when they went around the bridge, it was dark out, and they actually hit Wyatt. He died instantly from the impact, so Grant took the time to tie Wyatt down so he'd sink and pushed him in the water under the bridge. And then in that 27 minutes, Phoebe died. So then Becca didn't really remember what happened. She'd had a blow to the head. And so Grant had told her that the issue was, him and her had been seeing each other, and Phoebe was mad, and Phoebe attacked him, and, because of being upset, and then he lost control, and he didn't want her to get in trouble because she was kind of the cause of the accident. And I don't remember all the other details, but he convinced Becca that she was in some way responsible for the accident, or partly responsible. Maybe she was trying to get Phoebe off of him and grabbed the wheel. I don't remember the details, but so Becca has gone this whole time thinking that her and Grant are a thing, and they are not a thing. They've never been a thing. And that night, she actually, or Grant was with Phoebe's friend. They just offered Becca a ride home, and Becca might have had a crush on Grant because she obviously has some very serious mental health problems. But she's thought for the last 10 years that her and Grant were a thing. Her and Grant were going to get married, and they were going to have all the babies. And the issue was they just, they couldn't tell anybody about their relationship because of this car accident. And he's been leading her on and mistreating her this whole time because he is a jerk who let his sister die so that he could cover up that he killed somebody. Obviously, this means that Wyatt, who has come back, is a ghost, and only his sister can see him. And all of the weird things we're seeing of him being sick and falling apart, and we get his point of view. And he indicates that he's sick and dying, but he never indicates to us that I saw that he was a ghost. And frankly, I kind of want to know if there's ghosts in your book before you tell me there's ghosts in your book. Now, we do have, at the very beginning, we do have a one-off line that nobody would ever pay any attention to that tells us that there's ghosts in this book that I guess I just didn't realize. Here's the line. But the truth, it will come out. Nothing can keep the truth buried. It will always unfurl itself, lay itself bare. It is unstoppable, like the tide or a storm or a ghost. It will hunt you down. Okay, so that one little one off line tells us that ghosts might happen, but I didn't feel like that was enough for me to be like, oh, ghosty boy. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Like I was not prepared for a ghost. Now I thought Wyatt might have gotten hit. I thought he might have seen it. I thought he was coming back with cancer or something else. I didn't see him coming back as a ghost. And I want to know, like, why are you a bleeding ghost who's like your molars are falling out all over the place? Now, I will say I read this on audiobook, so most of it. So it is possible I missed some clues because audiobooks you don't always pay attention to as much as physical books, the word for word. But I was just really kind of put out that they just threw a ghost in here and that the ghost was at the end. And it it just seemed like a lot of work for this reveal that was kind of meh to me. And I felt like I had to read a lot of crap, a really long crappy book for that reveal of and why it's a ghost and Grant hit him and Becca weren't a thing and Becca's crazy. And I was just like, I'm not sure that was worth it. I don't know that that was a worthwhile journey for me. So I ended up feeling pretty disappointed in this book. I wanted to be interested early on, and there were times I was interested. I mean, I was interested enough to finish it. I didn't DNF it. Maybe I should have, but I didn't because I wanted to know what happened with Phoebe and why there was this 27 minutes and wanted to see how it all came together. And for me, there was a ghost and and a crazy girl. It just wasn't doing what I really wanted it to do. So I ended up feeling a little bit disappointed in this book. All right, guys, have you read 27 Minutes? Did you guess about the ghost thing way sooner than I did? Did you have any other thoughts about this book that you'd like to share? If so, please do so in the comments. I don't know. Sometimes I like it. Sometimes the ghost thing works. I've read a couple other books where it's like, oh, paranormal elements. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I can deal with that. And that was good. But for some reason, this just didn't quite hit right. All right, guys, it's been Jane. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.